Hi, and welcome back to a new episode of Breaking Boundaries with Naluka. In this episode, I want to talk about comparison. I have felt lately a lot of people saying to me, oh, I wish I could do what you're doing and be living where I want, working on some of my own projects. And it really made me think about how we often compare our lives to other people. And I'm guilty of this. You're probably guilty of this. It's so cliche, but comparison really is a thief of joy. And we all know that it's not good. We all know that it's not healthy. And yet we can't help doing it. And I've really struggled with comparison in my life in various areas, whether that's career, whether that is lifestyle, whether it is appearance. I think we all compare ourselves to others. But I have found that there are 5 ways that you can prevent yourself comparing yourself to other people. Now, it's not going to completely eliminate it. I think, if anyone has the answer to completely eliminating comparison, I would love to know, but it definitely helps me. And in this video, I really want to share with you what I do to help myself stop comparing. And hopefully some of these tips will also be helpful for you too. So the first tip is to understand that everyone is on a different timeline. This is so important to understand. We often have these timelines and these milestones in our mind that society kind of puts on us. And actually, everyone has got their own timeline and is working on their own journey. I find it really interesting how Vera Wang was 40 when she entered the fashion industry. J.K. Rowling, when her first book came out, was 32. And I think sometimes we feel this pressure, at least I did, to be this instant success super early on. I remember as a graduate being like, I just wish I could be a partner now. And I smile when I look back at that because it takes time. And so the first thing to stop comparing yourself is realize everyone's timeline is different. Some people are going to be ahead, some people are going to be further behind, but that can change over time. And so when you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, realize that, no two humans are the same and no experience is the same. So comparison is truly, truly pointless. The second tip I find that helps me is to know that whoever I'm comparing myself to, or whatever it is that I'm thinking that I wish I had, well, no one feels fully satisfied with their life. And it reminds me of the Adele song, I Drink Wine, where she actually says the lyric, I don't know anybody who's truly satisfied. And it's like everyone is always looking for something more. I am currently living this, what I feel like to be a dream in terms of pursuing what I've always wanted to do. But does that mean I'm fully satisfied all the time? No. I would like certain things more of. I would like to change certain things in my life. But I think it's really about understanding that when you see someone who is living the perfect life or is living a dream, they are also probably dissatisfied in one or more areas of their life. And that is just human nature. The third tip is when I find myself comparing, I realize that it's a total waste of energy and that actually that energy could be used elsewhere. So it's often a mental cycle. And I had this probably about 4 or so weeks ago. I found myself comparing myself to someone who's super successful, living this incredible life. And I was like, oh, why can't I have that? And then I realized, why am I brooding over this? Like the mental energy that takes from you is really, really bad. And actually, it's often better to channel that somewhere else. So go for a run, do some yoga, call a friend, get yourself out of that spiral of comparison, because as soon as you go down it, you'll just compare more and more and more, and you'll feel more and more unhappy. Fourth tip I find whenever I'm comparing myself, or I feel like I'm in that mindset of if only I had X, or if only I was like this, is I realize that we have to do a little bit of a self-audit of our own strengths and what we already have. I remember my mum once said to me, Naluka, if you took a white sheet, you would point to all the bits that have like a black mark, i.e., we as humans have this negativity bias. We're naturally prone to looking at the negative aspects of our lives and not the positive aspects. And I think that's also true when it comes to ourselves. We're often very, very critical of ourselves. And so what I find helps me is to do a self-audit of my strengths, literally write them down. I was saying this to a coaching client of mine. Write down your strengths when you feel inadequate, when you feel that you're comparing yourself to someone who you think is more successful than you. Realize actually what you have and what you have already achieved, and take that time out, because it's not just going to come to your head. We have to practice it deliberately and proactively. And number 5 is to make an action plan. So if everything else doesn't work and you still find yourself comparing, think about what is it exactly that you're comparing yourself to, and what would you need to change in your life to create that, to create a change that will move you forward in the direction of whatever it is that you're comparing yourself to. So I remember feeling really frustrated that I was staying in London, that I couldn't go abroad. And I remember comparing myself to people living this digital nomad life. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, I know I could do a lot of work remotely. And I put together an action plan to go and do it. And so rather than just comparing my life to that life and wishing I had it and just feeling down about it and doing all the things that I mentioned already, but still feeling like I was comparing, I put together an action plan to actually make the change I wanted. And so that is what I would really strongly urge you to do. If you feel yourself comparing yourself to someone, and actually you could do the steps to move yourself to something that you want, write down an action plan, start to think about it. Overall, we're all guilty of comparison. I'm guilty of it, you're guilty of it. Doesn't bring us any happiness, but it's something that we all do. But I really feel that those 5 tips can help. Tip number 1, understand everyone's timelines are different and that everyone is on their own journey. There's no point comparing yourself to someone else who's 15 years or 10 years ahead of you, or even a few years ahead of you. Number 2 is to understand that no one is fully satisfied. Everyone has something they wish they could change, even wealthy celebrities. Like, it's so key to realize that anyone that you're comparing yourself to probably has something in their life that they would want to change. Number 3 is to realize that the energy that it takes when you're comparing is not healthy, and that actually that energy could be channeled elsewhere. So prevent yourself from going down a spiral and channel that energy elsewhere. Number 4, when you feel yourself comparing, and particularly comparing in a way that makes you feel inadequate or that you're not good enough, then the best thing to do is to do a self-audit of your strengths and realize actually what are the things you've already achieved and what are the things that make you you and make you unique. And the 5th one is that whatever it is that you're comparing yourself to, how can you get there? Like, if it is something healthy and positive and it's actually about making a change in your life, then recognize that and put together an action plan to move towards that. That is exactly what I did when I decided to go on this digital nomad journey. I felt pretty down, actually. Before I took this decision, I was feeling like, I was looking at all of this movement, I would call it a movement, and thinking how I really wanted to do that. And rather than just comparing myself, I put together an action plan to go and do it, and now here I am. Does that mean that I never compare myself anymore? No, of course not. But at least I made a change in my life on this experiment to move myself towards something positive and something that I know really resonated with me individually. So please revisit this video whenever you feel like it. It's a little bit of a different video, also a different background, but I really wanted to come on here and make it because comparison, it's easy to do, it's normal to compare. The trick is to not do it too much. And I think where possible, when you find yourself comparing yourself, realize that you're doing it, come back to this video and try and do one or all of those 5 tips. I hope that was helpful. I hope that this has made you feel better. And if you're watching this now, I'm sure that there is someone out there comparing themselves to you, wishing they had something that you have. And I think we all need to get into this better mindset of realizing that no one has a perfect life. We're always going to be comparing, but the best thing we can do is to be kind to ourselves and minimize the level of that comparison. Thank you so much for listening. You can tell it's a topic that I feel pretty passionate and strong about, but I hope it was helpful, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you here next time.